Hello, hello, hello. Today I am here with Reyna, and we are talking about all things women and weight loss. Super, super excited to have her talking about this subject. For those of you that don't know me, my name is Sabrina Victoria. I am the host here at her talk show. If you haven't already subscribed, girl, get on it. These podcasts are guaranteed to have you thinking differently about life. Let's jump right in.
Get ready, because today's guest is about to change the way you view your world. This is Her Talk Show, hosted by Sabrina Victoria.
So if you're listening live, welcome. And if you're listening on the replay, make sure you drop into the comments and say hello so we can find you. We have had over 500 women grace this stage, and we are adding another one to the list today. Miss Reyna. She is a women's health and fitness professional who enjoys helping women build their dream life one daily wellness habit at a time. She has been a fitness and wellness professional for 12 plus years with modality certifications in strength training, barre, yoga sculpt, and more. She is also certified in nutrition, gut health, and period cycles. What? To help busy women 35 plus utilize nutrition, fitness, and accountability. She doesn't believe in gimmicks or diets, fads, or internet schemes, and you won't be eating anything that you don't like or doing workouts that you loathe. She believes in building daily habits that will have you enjoying them and won't have you turning into or it won't turn into a happy and sustainable lifestyle. There's no good or bad food, only great ways to nourish your body individually. If you are a busy woman who is ready to take the journey to building your happy, healthy lifestyle, she is your girl. Super excited to have this lady join us today. Welcome, Reyna.
Thank you. Thank you for having me, Sabrina Victoria. I love it.
So much.
Mm-hmm.
I appreciate you taking some time out of your day. One of the things that I love about podcasting and women who come on the show is just the understanding of how important it is to be helping each other, sharing the wealth, sharing some value.
Yeah, it's a really huge thing. And I love to see women supporting other women, obviously, and having a women's health and wellness studio. It's wonderful to watch women, because the best thing is to also see women come from like different areas and just people that may have never crossed paths, and just find that like commonality too and support one another. So yeah, it's a pretty wonderful thing, right?
Yes, 100%. Well, I'm super excited about this topic. We're talking about women, we're talking about weight loss, especially coming up to the holidays. We know that everyone does this whole New Year's resolution coming up January 1st. So I feel like this is really good timing for us, for those heading into the holiday season, the candy season coming up first. And one of the things that I really love about your modality of teaching is mindset. Because I think so often we think it's just the physical, right? You have to like get up, do things, and like eat healthy, and then everything's all fine and dandy. But you teach a whole nother concept of, adding mindset to that. Can you elaborate?
Yes. My favorite piece to talk about, actually, because your mindset is it's really everything. So whether you want to lose weight, if you want to achieve any goal, you have to have that mindset, right? And we have to evolve your mindset. So obviously, everyone's different. People get in a rut, like they have kids, right? We work, we do so many different things, and then we start to kind of go by the wayside, right? We put everything else first, and then we're last. The only way to actually achieve, right, we're talking about weight loss, is to evolve your mindset. So we walk people through, and we actually have an accountability program that focuses on meeting people where they're at. So if somebody came to me and they're like, well, I want to lose 20 pounds. And it's like, as you said prior, that whole physical aspect of it, right? It's one piece. But if we don't take you where you're at, and we don't take those tiny little steps and those tiny wins and evolve your mindset in order to get to where you want to be, right? Your future self, one step at a time, then all we're really doing is we're just losing weight. And I know that sounds weird, but like you can lose weight, right? And that's where people lose weight. They'll gain it back because they're not changing their habits. They're just, oh, well, I'm going to starve myself for like a week and, see how much I lose, or starve myself for a month. Or I can't even tell you how many women I talk to and they're like, oh, well, this is what I'm doing. I'm not eating I'm not eating carbs. I'm not eating dairy. And I'm just like, oh, okay. Do you like any of those things? Well, yeah, but I'm not going to eat them. I'm just going to stop. I'm like, are you never going to eat another one in your life? And they're like, well, no, but I need to lose this weight. And it's like, well, it's not all or nothing, right? It's all or something. So we want to make those like little minute changes so that you can evolve with your weight loss and not almost like an antagonist of that weight loss, if that makes sense.
Yeah, definitely makes sense. And I can totally relate to being on a train at one point or another where, limiting carbs, limiting certain foods that I just absolutely adore in order to get to an ideal weight loss. What is the ideal? Like, what is a healthy way of eating? For those that are on this yo-yo diet of carbs and then all the carbs, or, fats and no fats.
So I would take the word healthy. It's kind of like when I wrote what you said in my bio, like good food, bad food. It's hard to say like what's quote unquote healthy for each individual, right? I have hypothyroidism. I'm not supposed to necessarily eat gluten, like it can cause inflammation. So that is very independent and very specific to each woman, or each person, shall I say. The biggest thing is what I said. It's not all or nothing. It's all or something. So cutting things out isn't the route we want to go, right? Like when you were talking about restricting things and like you loved those foods. And then what did you probably do? You were like, man, I really just love pasta. And now I'm just going to eat an entire vat of pasta because I haven't eaten pasta in like a month. And all I've been thinking about is what? Probably pasta. So when we restrict ourselves, it basically has us focus on the thing that we're restricting. So it's that lovely like mind trickery right there, So overall, you want to focus on adding. Let's say you love pizza, right? So add something to your pizza. Okay, yeah, it's carbs, it's got fats, it's higher in fats. Maybe like me, I'm gluten-free, so I can have a gluten-free crust. You want to add protein. A lot of women that we speak to, honestly, so many women are not eating enough protein in their lives. Like it's just a reality. I can't even tell you how many thousands of women I speak to and we help. And I'm just like, please eat more protein. But think about adding. So add veggies, add protein. Don't think about subtracting. You're going to eat pizza. Like if you love it, you enjoy it, then why are you stopping yourself from eating it? But just think about maybe customizing some items. Like I eat protein pancakes multiple times a week. And people are like, you eat pancakes? And I'm like, yeah, I do, because they're protein based. So with that being said, that's another example of how I can eat something that's normally like high in fat, high in sugar, high in carbs, and turn it to like work for me and not against me in a way. So I would really say understanding that it's addition, not subtraction, right? It's adding, it's not like restriction. And then also I really, really would love if women understood their macronutrients or like had help understanding that and understood what they just need to consume on a daily basis, because everybody is different. So people can ask me for blanket help and I'm like, okay, well, I need to know more info so that I can help you, right? Because it's not a one size fits all approach. I can give this general advice, but if I don't know, and this is going to get nerdy for a moment, your basal metabolic rate, your total daily energy expenditure, like if I don't know those things and I don't understand more about you, your goals, and like where you're trying to go and what you're trying to achieve, then, it's going to be different for everyone. So yeah, I would say knowing, just learning a little bit more about yourself too, having more self-awareness in that.
Yeah, that totally makes sense. Speaking of protein, there's like 100 different types of protein, powders and supplements, and then there's also all the meats, and then there's
Mm-hmm.
also all the greens.
Mm-hmm.
So where should a person be concentrating on like a few different categories of protein when you're saying more protein?
Well, that depends, right? Like, do you eat meat? Do you not eat meat? Are you vegan? Are you pescatarian? Right? So if you're gluten-free, you're going to be whey intolerant. There's a lot of different things. So protein wise, powders, I would say only utilize if you can in between meals. If you need to utilize a powder as a substitute, like a meal substitute, then go for it. I would also say, depending on how many grams of protein, like per scoop, you look at that. You want to have, for a snack, you want to have protein-based snacks as well, but focus on getting about 20 grams of protein as a snack. That's like an average number. So there are different protein powders based on, right, like if you're vegetarian, if you're vegan. So you just have to know that first. Getting into like meats and different things, like it really just depends on what your preference is. As you said earlier, don't eat anything you don't like. I have 2 rules. Don't eat anything you don't like, and don't eat anything you're allergic to. And I actually shared this on social media, and somebody was like, well, if I carry my EpiPen, and I'm like, no. Like, if you want to do it, that's fine. But like, just don't dance with the devil if you don't have to, right?
Yeah.
Protein is complete when it's animal based. And, people get into so many different conversations about this. Like, if you are vegan or you are vegetarian, you definitely will have to take a supplement to get complete protein. It's all good. It's all great, but it's just different, right? So I think of looking at it that level. When you think about protein, I suggest women specifically get at least like 20, anywhere between 20 and 40 grams per meal. So to give you an example, if you're like sedentary, let's say you do absolutely nothing but like sit on your butt all day long, you want to eat about 50% of your ideal weight in grams of protein. Just think about that. That's if you're like laying around doing nothing. Most women or even people need about 70 to 80% of their ideal weight in grams of protein. So just something to think about. And if you're really, really active, then you need about 100%. And I always say start there because protein is filling, and we all should be eating 25 grams of fiber a day too.
Awesome. I love that. So great info on that. And I think that that is an issue that a lot of us deal with is just, how much of everything, right? How much of so many, protein being one of them, are we supposed to actually be consuming on a daily basis? And I love the fact that you're talking about so many different ways of eating, right? So many different ways of eating. So I am wondering about macros. You mentioned macros. Even I myself don't have any idea. I remember probably about 3 years ago there being, for a long period of time, a few years, I saw it everywhere, anywhere and everywhere that I turned. I saw this macros thing, and then it kind of settled down. I haven't really seen it, but I'm sure it's still there. Can you give us a little
Yeah.
rundown on just basics, right?
Yeah. I mean, so macros stands for macronutrients. So it's how much protein, how much fats, and how much carbs in a percentage that we're supposed to eat on a daily basis. And that's based off of the things that I previously said, like your basal metabolic rate. So your basal metabolic rate is how many calories you burn at a resting state, and your total daily energy expenditure, so it's BMR TDEE is like the abbreviation if you see it. And that's obviously how many calories you burn in total. So like when you're walking, when you're working, everything. So when we take that and we put that together, we can figure out how many calories you can consume and what that looks like if you would want to stay the same weight or if you'd want to lose weight or gain weight. I also suggest that people don't like actually lose, like let's say you wanted to lose weight, please don't go anything lower than 500 calories. Like usually around 250 or 300 is where we keep it, but that's another thing and we can chat about that. Macronutrients is really just that. Like it's that simple. People can make it more difficult, but it's just the percentage of what your body needs in order to reach your goals.
And then how do we find that out? Is there a calculation or do we have to go someplace?
Yeah, you can. There's like the NASM calculator you can use. I believe that's free. We use an app for like our clients, but it has like a lot of different components with it. So we can actually calculate that. And then also it just has, we can have workouts in there and we have daily habits and we have a lot of different things, accountability. We have our mindset program in there as well. So our mindset mentorship program. So you can do it through, like, there's a lot of free apps out there, and NASM is probably one of my favorites when it comes to being able to calculate that.
So the NASM calculator is free, and on there we fill out our information specifically, and then it'll tell us the percentage of protein, fat, and carbs that we should be ideally taking in to either lose, stay the same, or gain.
Yeah, I mean, overall, it's going to tell you like specifically macros, what you actually need. I know that NASM's is like one of the better ones for ours. That's what it does. And we use Trainerize. I know there's different apps out there like MyFitnessPal and Noom, and certain of them or some of them have like free ones or free. I don't know what that all entails anymore because they've taken a lot of the like free things away. So I just say go to NASM. That's what you would need to understand that. But really, if you really want to know that, awesome, go there. Otherwise, I always say consult a professional because oftentimes this can kind of get lost. And really overall, the biggest thing I say is focus on your protein and that consumption first, because if you focus on that, you'll be full enough to where, yeah, you're gonna eat vegetables, yeah, you're gonna eat carbs, but you want to focus on that aspect of it so that you can get fuller faster and feel fuller faster.
Got it. So the protein has the fat. Protein takes longer to burn. Why protein?
Oh yeah, protein to like break down. I mean, we can get into like a whole nerd conversation about this, but overall, it's going to fill you up and it's going to fill you up for longer. It also helps burn fat. Like when you actually eat more protein, it's going to help you build lean muscle mass, which then in turns it builds lean muscle mass, which in turn helps you burn fat, right? It helps raise your basal metabolic rate up. And then it also curbs sugar cravings. So that's another thing that's really great about eating more protein. It really is going to curb a lot of cravings in general, because the greatest thing that women say and feel, and one of the biggest questions I get when women do our programs is, am I going to like be hungry? Like, am I going to be starving? And we tell them, no, you're going to be fuller than normal because you're eating the amount, like even if you're in a caloric deficit, we're not putting you in enough of a deficit where you would be starving. And you're also eating different quantity and qualities of food, right? You've probably been eating things that are like higher in sugar or saturated fats. And now we're focusing on protein and fiber and different things. So you're kind of swapping the way and the quality of the food that you're actually eating. So yeah, it's protein. Oh, I say protein first.
Got it. This is so interesting though. I've never really realized how they work together like that, as far as the protein builds the lean muscle, which then helps burn the fat and then curbs The sugar cravings. That's so interesting.
Well, protein in general, and just to add, like, so this is another thing I always tell women too, like, working out is for wellness, and you're going to build, like, it's the whole joke, abs are built in the kitchen, but really that's the truth. Like, you have to focus on your nutrition if you are looking for any sort of weight loss. So oftentimes women will be like, oh, and I ate a cheeseburger and then I want to work it off. And it's like, no, that's not how it works. So when you were talking about building lean muscle mass and burning fat, the biggest thing that I see is people will be like, I did a workout, right? I burned 100 calories. And it's like, okay, that's cool. It's kind of like, think about if you clock in and like you get paid hourly. You're like, oh, yay, I made $20 this hour, right? But it doesn't really matter if you are just like working random hours. You're like, oh, I made $20 here. I made $20 there. Cool. Like, what are you going to do with that, right? You have to go to work on a consistent basis and make money. And also, if you were like in the stock market or you had rental properties or something and you're making money off of your money, that's like working out consistently versus doing one-off workouts. So overall, when you work out on a consistent basis, your basal metabolic rate goes up, you burn more calories at a resting state, and that's really what you want. That's what you want, because you want to be building lean muscle mass while you sleep and burning calories like while you sleep. That's what you want your recovery to be like.
Yeah. Speaking of working out, I love this pivot because there is constant conversations, especially in the world of women, of cardio versus weights. Can you talk a little bit about that?
I would like it to not be versus anything. Like, I think cardio versus weights we need to omit that word. So I love that you said that. It's not cardio versus weights. Now, strength training, especially if you are 30 plus, get on the boat. Like, just do it. Pick up heavy stuff, put it down. That's what we need to do. So I think there is this mentality where I noticed for like my mom and like my parents and her parents, like her mom, where it's like cardio, let's run and let's, do our aerobics and our jazzercise. And like, please, of all things, move your body. Walking is underrated. Number one, is so underrated. Please walk. Please let it be about the little things that you do. So if you have an opportunity to like walk instead of get in a car or take the stairs instead of getting on an escalator, please do it. It's about the little things that you do. But when you talk about strength training and cardio, strength training is it's essential. Because think about the things that we do every day. I mean, what do you do when you travel? You carry your luggage around. What do you do when you pick up your groceries and put them down? Like, there's so many movements that we do in strength training that mimic our everyday movements. And then also that strengthen and develop muscles that we don't utilize as well, right? Like, if you do a lateral lunge, like nobody walks sideways. Like, you walk around like sideways. You're like, hey guys. So it's like we need to be more about functionality, mobility, and strength. Think about it in that, right? Like, what do you want to be able to do when you're like 70, 80? You want to be able to get out of bed and like walk up the stairs, right? Like grab your cup out of the cupboard, like those types of things. So cardio is great. It's great. It's wonderful for cardiovascular health and endurance. And that's what it's great for. So, and that's really what it's great for. Like, you want cardio, you want to do cardio, and you don't need to run, and it doesn't need to be high impact. Go back to my walking statement. Walking is amazing.
Yeah, walking is definitely something that I have adopted over the last few years. When you say strength training, mm-hmm. Is that all the things, or is that specific? Is that weights? Is that bands? Does that cover everything? Or is this specifically like machinery?
You can use machines, you can use bands, you can use weights, you
Okay.
can use your body weight.
Body weight.
The
Okay.
biggest thing is that at some point, in order to progress, you will need to utilize some sort of weight or resistance. So body weight is amazing, don't get me wrong, but if you're looking to actually build lean muscle mass, you're going to need to lift heavier. So especially, as I already said, women that are 30 plus, like we lose about 3 to 8% muscle mass yearly. So we want to make sure that we're doing this so that we don't end up with losing muscle mass, right? So you got to be like ahead of the curve and ahead of the game, because the older we get, the harder it is to build lean muscle mass and to keep it.
So an average person that maybe doesn't really work out a whole lot loses 3 to 5% every year, would you say?
30 plus, like when you hit 30,
30, okay.
It's 3 to 8% that
Every
you can
year.
essentially, if you're not like working out or doing
Yeah.
anything. Yeah. Mhm.
Wow, that's so interesting.
Yeah.
And does just walking help with that? That keeps like your right arms, core a little bit, your legs, or
Yeah.
is
I
that
mean,
only strength training builds muscle?
so walking is great from like a cardiovascular standpoint. Like it's great from a mental standpoint. You're still functional, you're moving, like you have more mobility, right? So it's, once again, wonderful. The thing is that if you really want to focus on not losing muscle mass, you're going to need to pick up weights. You're going to need to actually like focus on developing muscle. And the way that you do that is by progressive overload. And so you can't really progressively overload when you don't have any sort of resistance, if that makes sense.
Okay. What about so one of the things that I have done, haven't done recently, but have done
Mm.
is walking with hand weights or ankle weights or even like stopping to do like squats.
Mm.
Is that also some strength training in that?
I mean, it's kind of basic in that sense. Like it's where we would start people. I love movement in general. Like movement is definitely medicine. It's just as you continue, you would want to increase your weights or increase your duration or do different variations of squats and slow them down. So the thing is that exercise in general, especially in strength training, is the same shit. Like it's the same movement patterns, but you'll do different things, right, to spice it up, and you're adding weight. So if we're not really adding on weight, or we're not increasing the duration, or we're not adding a variation, because there's a few different ways to make things different, right? You can slow it down, you can add weight, you can increase the duration of it. That's really where you want to be. You want to be constantly progressing. So it's like, okay, that's a great place. Like you want to have weights on, or maybe you started walking, right? And then you started walking further, and then you added the weights, and then you're like, oh, I'm going to do some squats in between here. And I would make sure that it's repetitive. So you're at least maybe doing 2 to 3 sets of squats. But then I would say, with your example, like I would, honestly, you can't really walk I mean, I guess you can walk with heavier weights and do that essentially, right? You can walk holding weights. We do like farmer carries and things of that nature, but you need progressive overload. So you need to be lifting heavier over time. It's just how we will build lean muscle mass, because your muscles are just going to get kind of used to it at a certain point, right? Like you probably see that if you do it for a certain amount of time, you're like, oh, that's not really difficult anymore. Like it was when I started, but I think I got this now. And so you just want to keep progressing, because that's your body's way of telling you like, oh, I got over that hurdle. I'm good. Now you just keep going.
Yeah, for sure. Weight loss and time. And I think now is a really good time to be having conversations around this topic because of COVID. I know there's a lot of people that lost a lot of weight during COVID. There's also a lot of people that gained a lot of weight. And we have to kind of like, COVID's over, peeps. Like, it's been 3 years. Like, we're back at it. This is real life now. And the gyms are open. They've been open. And we got to get back on the wagon. And I think that, for those that did gain some weight, maybe are a little bit heavier than they've ever been because of that huge lull that we had and that excuse that we had. What is your take on the amount of time that we need to have as humans, as far as, how long it's going to take us to lose that weight, and the patience and the grace that we need to have for our bodies?
Yeah, that's a great question. Well, it depends on how much weight you want to lose, but fall in love with the journey, because if you don't, it's just going to all be reverse. So, I would love for everybody to be in love with strength training, especially females, like I said. But maybe that's just not something that, I think you come to love certain things that you become better at over time. And the unfortunate thing with our society currently is that we want that immediate gratification, right? Like, you go get your hair done, you look fabulous in an hour. You go get your makeup done, you look fabulous, right? Like, it's just so easy to like, you go get a facial, your face is immaculate in an hour. And then you go and you work out and people are like, I did a workout. Well, now I'm just tired and I'm out of breath and I'm sweaty and I'm gross. And that like kind of sucked. And like, and now I'm sore. And so you have all these things where you're just like, oh, I don't want to do that again. And people tell me all the time when I talk to them, well, I ask them, well, what do you think has been the obstacle of you getting to where you want to be? And they'll say, motivation. And it's not that. I wish it was, but we have to be disciplined. We need discipline before we need motivation. So in order to get motivation, you need to just get up and do it. And I say, start doing things that you enjoy, because like you said, walking, right? So like, that's going to get you moving and moving consistently, and then maybe take on some different things that you don't really know about, right? Or you're like, oh, well, I've been walking. I got this. I did my squats. I got my arm weights and my ankle weights. Like, I'm ready to take on another challenge now. Don't do it all at once. Like, it's Rome wasn't built in a day, right? And just expect, I would love it. Like, I'm just real. I like to set expectations. And I even tell all of our clients this, especially if they're like opting into a challenge or something of that nature, where we focus on nutrition, fitness, and accountability. I'm like, you're going to probably hate us for 2 weeks, but you're going to be fully supported. There are going to be people in it with you in the trenches. There are going to be people that have done it. So you can go to them and ask them how they felt. So you know that you're not alone. But we are here to hold your hand every step of the way. So get support, find a community, find a place that you're comfortable with, or a coach that you're comfortable with, or something, because you need to fall in love with the journey. If you don't, I can tell you right now that it won't last. And if it's just about losing weight and it doesn't become more about self-improvement and just wanting to be more confident in your own skin, or like you don't have a why, right? It's not like, oh, why am I getting up every morning at 6 a.m. to go to this gym and what am I doing? You need a strong why. Yeah. Weight loss is not easy. It's not. I've had to do it 2 times in my life. And the second time is from having hypothyroidism. And also, and when you get older, I'm actually finishing a certification for perimenopause, menopause, and postmenopause. And our bodies start fighting us. They're like, oh, well, you're stressed. Let's just give you some belly fat. And that's where all your cortisol levels, they jack up. And now that's where you're going to see it. So also just understand that it's going to take time, and focus on the journey. Focus on enjoying yourself. Try to enjoy yourself as much as possible. And I honestly would say, if weighing yourself bothers you, don't do it. Find another way, maybe take photos or measurements, or just don't do it that often, because we're so consumed with our weight and how we look and comparing ourselves to Instagram models. And it's we're our own people, you know, Margot Robbie, they shared her fitness regimen. And I'm like, y'all, I get this. Like, she did an amazing job. Like, she she looks great. She's also Margot Robbie. Like, she already kind of looked like Barbie. So I feel like some people think like, oh, well, if I go do, what she did, then that's how I'm going to look. Yeah. False. We have genetics. We have other things in play. So really, really dig deep. Learn to love yourself. Learn to be comfortable in your own body, and like find those ways to get yourself there where you feel, at least comfortable doing it. It's going to be uncomfortable for quite some time, but I want people to slowly get to where they're like, oh, this is awesome. I can hold a plank for a minute, and I can do push-ups now, all the way down and all the way up on my knees, or whatever it is. So find the small wins too, because if you don't celebrate it, you're just going to be like, oh, well, it's been like 3 weeks. I haven't lost any weight. I'm done,
Yeah.
So,
yeah. And that's what happens.
Yeah. To many people. And it's interesting because I can actually talk to women now, and I know where they are in their process. Like, that's how much experience I have helping women, where I can talk to them and I can be like, you may not be ready. And it's okay. But it's also something that women have to be ready to do, or people have to be ready to do, and really dig deep, because it's just going back to that. It's not an easy thing. So you want to be supported.
Yeah. Beautiful. Well, this has been amazing. I so appreciate you. We have a ton of people watching live right now. Can you do us a huge favor? I mean, obviously we can tell what niche you're in, but if you could do us a huge favor, let us know, what exactly you do, and who should be reaching out to you.
Oh, yes, of course. So we help women that are about 30, 35 plus feel confident in their own skin. We focus on nutrition, fitness, and accountability. And we use those 3 pillars to help women evolve their mindset in order to achieve their goals. Really, that's our jam. That's like that's just what we're amazing at. So if you're a mom, if you're just a busy, woman, if you're a mom, a career-oriented woman, whatever it may be, like, and you're just like, I don't know what to do. I need to lose weight, or I don't feel great in my own skin, or why am I not moving my body anymore? Or I've never worked out before. Any of that, like, we can help you with, because our end goal is to help you feel confident in your own skin through evolving your mindset. So we do remote programs, we do hybrid, and then of course in studio. So if you're not in Chicago, it's honestly no big deal. We help plenty of women that don't live here, and we're up for the challenge always, because we're all about community and support.
Absolutely. And where can people find you, as far as your website, and then if they want to follow you on social media?
Please follow us at Studio Fit Chicago on Instagram and Facebook. Our Insta is fire, and our TikTok, both of those. If you're on Insta or TikTok, please Studio Fit Chicago. And then our website is, www.studiofitchicago.com. But yeah, we do polls. We share all of the stuff, all of the information. I love just like educating. So I do like at least a few TikToks a week and just talk about like really hot topics. Right. I just did one on how you can't spot reduce fat. Yeah, that was great. So
beautiful. Yeah. Well, I thank you so much for being here and for hanging out with us. For those of you that resonated with Reyna and all the goodness that she shared, make sure that you check her out on her website, studiofitchicago.com. And then, of course, her social media, Facebook and Instagram. We love to connect people here on this platform in order to make sure that we continue to rise. Any closing thoughts, lady, as we wrap up?
Well, thank you for having me. I greatly appreciate that. I just want to tell women that you're not alone, that a lot of women, especially post-COVID, feel like they don't have enough time, or that they, maybe aren't in, the best shape of their lives. And it's not about that. It's about finding that within yourself and just taking the steps to get to where you want to be. So just take those small little daily steps or actionable steps. And if you do need the help, you know where to find us.
Yes. Well, I thank you so much, lady, for being here and spending some time with us today to share some awesome information with all of us. That brings us to an end of yet another incredible episode of Her Talk Show. Thank you so much for joining us and sharing your wisdom, inspiring us all. To our dedicated listeners, thank you so much for being here and hanging out live and on the replay. We love you all. Please make sure you follow, like, and share. Once again, I am your host, Sabrina Victoria, and I invite you to join community, Her Nation, where we continue to uplift each other and have beautiful conversations like this in order to support each other.